And this is after the first coat on it. I'm going to put probably about 2 more coats on it here. Put some paint on it. Gloss black. Well, to get the handlebars done. It's dry now. Okay, now what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to go ahead and rebuild the carburetor and drain the oil out of it. We'll drain the oil out first here so I don't have to worry about anything spilling out of it. And the oil is pretty much black in it, about as black as the paint that's on it. So it's probably the original oil that was in it. So we're going to drain all that out and put some fresh in after I get it on the mower. Changing the oil on one of these, it's kind of tricky because it's on the bottom. Another reason I wanted to do it here while it's off, I got one of these special tools here that go into the plug like that, and you can just loosen it. They're usually pretty tight. If you don't have one of these, just use a 3/8 ratchet. That works just the same because this is 3/8. I already broke it loose with the hammer on there. I got a drain tray sitting on the floor there to catch the oil there. Okay, now I'm at the point where I'm going to get ready to take the carburetor and gas tank off so I can rebuild the carburetor, if you want to call it a rebuild. There ain't much to them. First thing I always do is just take the air filter box off here. That way you can get to everything and see how everything's set up before you tear into it. It don't matter so much from this one like I showed you earlier because all the springs aren't hooked up or anything. Look at that air filter. Real nice. This is real bad shape, and I got a little bit of oil down there because I flipped the mower over on the wrong side. At some point yesterday, after I told you all the correct way to flip it over, I did it backwards and filled it up with oil. What happens, oil runs down in this plug here and gets in the carburetor. Now what I used to do on these, when you're trying to keep everything in place, I took out the 3 head bolts, but you can get by with just taking out this bolt and this bolt back here. There's usually a spacer back here, so you have to watch for that. You take out those 2 bolts, your carburetor and gas tank will lift right off, as you're going to see here in just a second. Okay, over here you got a 3/8 drive bolt. I'm just using a 1/4" ratchet here for a change. I usually use a 3/8 drive all the time. You got that. And the other bolt over here is a 1/2 inch. It ain't going to just fall off there because there's a O-ring on the other side of the carburetor that holds it onto the intake tube. There's your bolt here. See, you just wiggle that a little bit and it'll come loose. But you gotta watch your linkages here. And there's your carburetor and gas tank. Okay, and these carburetors, also don't forget about your tube here. It goes to the breather tube on the engine. You got 5 screws that you gotta take loose. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5 right there. That's all that holds it on there. I'll go ahead and take these loose. Might want to take them loose in a crisscross pattern like this to take the pressure off evenly. And there is a spring inside, and you want to be careful that I never had it happen, but I guess it's possible that it could shoot out of there and sling gas on you. It's also best to do this with an empty gas tank, but you can do it with a full tank if you're careful. And after you get them loose, just wiggle it a little bit like that and lift straight up on it. You see your pickup tube will usually get caught and you have to wiggle that a little bit. Now here's your screen, and here's the spring I was talking about, and there's your pickup tube with another screen on it. And this here is your actual diaphragm and gasket. See, that's all there is. And that's what always happens. This diaphragm gets stretched like that, and it pumps too much fuel and makes your engine run really rich. Here's a close-up of it. diaphragm and a gasket here. So you have to pay attention to how it came out. And the diaphragm is on the bottom. Okay, I just got through cleaning the outside of the carburetor off as much as I can. There's really nothing to clean on the inside, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not like a bigger engine with jets and everything in it. You just gotta replace that diaphragm every so often, and that's really all you can do. If it was an older one that had the adjustment screw in there, you can adjust it and fix them that way. But these newer ones, that's all you can do. But it don't really cost that much. And you get the diaphragm and a new spring for like $5, so you're really just better off. Okay, when you get your carburetor kit, you open it up, you'll have a gasket, a diaphragm that's real thin, be careful with it, a screen, which is like a fuel filter, and a little tiny spring. The first thing you want to do, replace that screen, just pull that right off like that. If there's dirt around there, you might want to wipe it off. And just install your new one here. And you can also wipe off the outside of this screen right here. You can buy these separate if you need them, but most of the time you can get by just wiping them off. Then your spring will go right here on this. Then you want to take your gas tank. This is the way I usually do it. I always like to put the diaphragm on first. They can only go on one way because of the way the screws are on it. So go ahead. And you can take your gasket and put it on there. Make sure all the holes line up for the screws. Then you're ready to put the carburetor back on. Just put that in there like this. If your spring falls out, that can complicate things, but most of the time it'll stay in place. And you can kind of look from the top and wiggle the carburetor along with the gaskets to get all the holes to line up on there. And get you a couple of your screws at opposite corners and just set them in there. It just keeps everything from moving. And you can go ahead and screw it in a little bit, but don't tighten it yet. Same for the one on the back. Now what you want to do here, you want to look all the way around it, all the sides there to make sure the gasket ain't bunched up or anything. And if it's all alright and you're ready to go ahead and put all your screws back in and tighten it back down. You don't have to go crazy with it either, because it don't have to be real tight. It'd be easy to strip these out just going into that gas tank. So just get them fairly snug, but don't overdo it, because it'd be easy to crack the plastic on the carburetor too. That's another thing I don't like. I don't like a plastic carburetor. I like them old aluminum carburetors or zinc. Can't remember what they were. They were pretty good carburetors. The ones that still had an adjustment on it. Now that's really all you got to do. Okay, to put the carburetor back in, first thing you got to do is get your linkage hooked up here. Sometimes this all can be pretty tricky getting this all in here right. And at the same time you want to get your breather tube and that hooked on there like that. And that's it. And you got to get your bolts here. Go ahead and get them both started. And go ahead and get that one pretty tight. And the same for this one up here. Like I said, you can take the 3 head bolts out. It takes this whole bracket out up here, but it's easier just to take that one screw loose. Saves a lot of time. Now we go ahead and get the springs. Like I said, I don't have new ones to put on this. I'm going to have to find some other ones I got off a couple other engines. You also want to make sure that this is working real free like that. Well guys, I ran into a problem. The small spring here broke, and I got this one set up temporarily just so I can get the engine running, because I don't have the right springs. I thought I had them on another engine, but I don't. And as soon as I get done with this clip here, I'll put in a picture of another engine I worked on a while back that shows exactly how it's supposed to be. So I'll put that in here right now. Well, the air filter ain't quite as bad as I thought it was. It's just dark from the old oil that was in it. So for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and reuse this. Later on, I'll get another one. This is the bottom part here. This goes in there like this. And your plastic piece goes in here just like that. And your top piece goes on like that. And then on the engine, you got a gasket that goes here. And this goes in here. Like that. Put your bolt in there, it's ready to go. I'm just putting this back together temporarily because I'm going to be I'm taking this back off here and painting everything, make it look real good. So this is just a temporary assembly. I'm going to paint it off camera, and next time you see the engine, it'll be painted. And I'm going to paint the muffler too. Check it out here. Just screws out there, and we're going to have to change the spark plug. I'm going to leave this old one in there until I get done painting, so no paint will get down inside the engine. This is the muffler that came off of it. I never really liked that type. I always liked these cylinder types, so I'm going to put this one on there instead. I don't even think I'm going to paint it. I think I'll just leave it like it is. That way it stands out so nobody will reach over and grab a hold of it. That wouldn't be good. I've heard of that happening before. A kid walked up to a lawnmower and put their hand around that while it was hot. Well guys, here's all the pieces. Everything's painted. Got the engine looking pretty good now. Changed that muffler like I was talking about. On the handlebars I put the brake lever green. I ain't going to show every step of putting this back together because it's pretty much the same as taking it apart, just working backwards. So we're going to skip ahead here a little bit. See how it starts here after being warm. Well guys, I think it turned out pretty good here. Yeah. It looks really good where that Bondo and everything was right there. I'll show you a couple more details I did here. On the cable here, I put the zip ties on there to keep it all in place better. And up here, the blade brake here, engine brake, I did that lever in green just to kind of go with the mower a little bit better. It's a different color green, but I think it's alright. And I did the eye here, the eye bolt, did that in green too, just kind of keep the black and green theme going a little bit there. But as you can see there, it started on the first pull today. The first video was last night of it running, and the second video out here right before I started cutting was today, the next day. So it starts on the first pull after you prime it 3 times. So that's pretty good. Well guys, if you got any questions or comments, just leave a comment below or send me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm going to go ahead and cut some grass and try this thing out.